Hey everyone, welcome to the SMA Victor, where we deep dive into the world of spinal muscular atrophy spreading SMA awareness. Today we're tackling a question that comes up a lot. Can SMA carriers develop SMA later in life? It's a topic that causes a lot of confusion, so we're going to break it all down. Whether you're a carrier yourself or just curious about how SMA works, stay tuned because we've got a lot to cover. What does it mean to be an SMA carrier? Let's start by understanding what it means to be an SMA carrier. SMA is a genetic condition caused by a defect in the SM1 gene. In most cases, both parents of an individual with SMAs are carriers. Being a carrier means you have one defective SMN1 gene and one working copy. Carriers don't have SMA themselves because their working gene produces enough SMN protein to support motor neuron health. Since SMA is an autosomal recessive condition, a person would need two defective copies of the SMN1 gene, one from each parent to develop the disease. This is why carriers don't typically show symptoms of SMA. So, can SMA carriers develop SMA later in life? The short answer is no. Carriers generally don't develop the full-blown condition because they have that one functioning SMN1 gene which produces enough SMN protein to prevent motor neuron loss. However, there are some complexities that we'll get into. Carriers typically don't experience the muscle weakness and motor function decline that people with SMA face. The body is able to compensate with a working copy of the SMN1 gene, so they don't have the same issues with SMN protein production that those with SMA do. Symptoms in carriers: rare but possible. While carriers don't develop full SMA, some research suggests that carriers may experience mild symptoms. Though this is rare, in these cases, carriers might report mild muscle weakness or fatigue. But it's also important to note that these symptoms are not just the same as the severe muscle wasting and losses of motor function seen in individuals with SMA. There are also other factors that can affect whether or not a carrier might feel mild symptoms, including the presence of other genetic variations or environmental factors. However, it's very uncommon for carriers to have noticeable physical symptoms. The role of the SMN2 gene in carriers. Another important piece of the puzzle is the SMN2 gene. In individuals with SMA, the SMN2 gene acts as a backup, producing a small amount of SMN protein. For carriers, the SMN2 gene can also play a role. If a carrier has multiple copies of the SMN2 gene, this could potentially provide additional SMN protein, further reducing the likelihood of any symptoms. Again, it's important to remember that carriers still have one fully functional SMN1 gene. This means their bodies can produce enough SMN protein to avoid the neurodegeneration that leads to SMA. The SMN2 gene in carriers is more of a bonus than provides extra assurance. What about late-onset SMA? Now, some of you might have heard of late-onset SMA, and you're wondering how that fits into this discussion. Late-onset SMA refers to individuals who develop symptoms or SMA later in life, typically in adolescence or adulthood. But here's the thing, these individuals are not carriers. They have two defective copies of the SMN1 gene, just like those with early-onset SMA, but their symptoms develop more slowly over time. This is because their SMN protein production, while low, was enough to support motor function during early childhood. However, as they age, the reduced levels of SMN protein start to take a toll on their motor neurons, leading to muscle weakness and other symptoms. Late-onset SMA is a form of the disease itself, not something that the carriers develop. Why genetic testing for carriers is important. Even though SMA carriers don't develop the disease, knowing your carrier status is crucial for family planning. Since SMA is autosomal recessive, if both parents are carriers, there is a 25% chance with each pregnancy that the child will have SMA, a 50% chance that the child will be a carrier like the parents, and a 25% chance that the child will be unaffected. Genetic testing can help identify if someone is a carrier, especially for couples planning to have children. While carriers don't experience the debilitating effects of SMA themselves, they can pass the defective gene onto their children. Can SMA carriers develop SMA later in life? So to recap, no, SMA carriers cannot develop SMA later in life. Carriers have one working copy of the SMN1 gene, which provides enough SMN protein to prevent motor neuron damage. While there are rare reports of mild symptoms in carriers, these are not the same as SMA itself. Late-onset SMA occurs in individuals with two defective copies of the SMN1 gene and should not be confused with carrier status. I hope this video helped clear some of the confusion about SMA carriers and whether they can develop the condition. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel to learn more about SMA. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.